The arrival at the Grand Assembly. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Alliance Citadel shimmered in the void, a testament to the combined technological might of 37 spacefaring civilizations. Ambassador Vexhai of the Corellian Empire adjusted his ceremonial robes, all 6 eyes focused on the main viewing screen. Today marked the formal evaluation of humanity's petition to join the Alliance, a mere formality, he assumed, before politely rejecting their application. "The humans are arriving," announced the Citadel's AI in its neutral tone. "Docking clearance granted for Bay 7. Vexay's middle eye twitched with amusement. Bay 7, the smallest docking facility, typically reserved for maintenance shuttles. The humans hadn't even warranted a proper reception bay. The assembled delegates turned their attention to the screens as the human vessels approached. What they saw prompted waves of barely suppressed laughter throughout the grand chamber. 3 ships emerged from hyperspace, their designs so primitive they seemed like historical recreations rather than active vessels. The lead ship, identified as the UES Remembrance, appeared to be held together by visible well blinds and external patch plates. Its hull showed clear signs of multiple repairs, and its engine nacelles glowed with the telltale orange of fusion drives, technology most species had abandoned centuries ago. "By the ancient stars," muttered Councillor Thrix of the Zephyrian Collective, her crystalline form pulsing with mirth. "They've sent museum pieces." Chancellor Korvac, the massive Saurian leader of the Draconian hegemony, rumbled his agreement. "Look at those heat signatures, chemical thrusters for maneuvering. My ancestors flew better ships when they first left our homeworld's atmosphere." The human vessels completed their approach with careful, measured movements. No gravitic manipulation, no spatial distortion fields, just basic Newtonian physics and careful piloting. It was almost quaint. Captain Alina Zhang stepped out of the airlock first, followed by her delegation of 5. They wore simple gray uniforms with minimal decoration, and most shocking of all, they appeared to be completely unaugmented biological humans. No neural interfaces glinted at their temples, no cybernetic enhancements strengthened their limbs. They were, by galactic standards, primitively natural. "Honored members of the Galactic Alliance," Captain Zhang began, her voice clear and confident despite the obvious technological gap. "On behalf of United Earth and her colonies, we thank you for this opportunity to present our application for membership." High Admiral Zektor of the Vortanian fleet leaned forward, his tentacles writhing with poorly concealed condescension. "Captain Zhang, before we proceed, we must ask, are these truly the vessels you've chosen to represent humanity's technological capabilities?" Zhang smiled slightly. "These are indeed the ships we've brought for demonstration purposes, Admiral. The remembrance, the heritage, and the legacy represent important elements of human spacefaring philosophy." "Philosophy?" Vexhai couldn't contain his disbelief. "You bring philosophy to a technology assessment." "With respect, Ambassador, we believe the two are inseparable," Zhang replied calmly. "May we proceed with our presentation?" The Council exchanged glances of bemused tolerance. Grand Mediator Silvix gestured with one of her light tendrils. "Proceed, Captain. Though I confess, we're curious what possible advantage these historical vessels could demonstrate." Zhang nodded to her team. The main screen shifted to display detailed scans of the 3 human ships. "What you see before you are indeed older vessels. The Remembrance was commissioned over 200 years ago. She's powered by fusion reactors, uses chemical thrusters for fine maneuvering, and carries projectile weapons that fire solid ammunition." The statement was met with open laughter from several delegates. The Nexeri representatives' bioluminescent patches flickered in amusement. "Captain, surely you jest. My species abandoned such primitive technology before we even achieved faster-than-light travel. And yet," Zhang continued unperturbed, "the Remembrance has survived 14 major conflicts, 37 boarding actions, and over 2,000 combat missions. She's still flying, still fighting, still protecting human interests. Through sheer luck, no doubt, scoffed Counselor Thrix. Zhang's smile widened slightly. Through adaptability, Counselor. You see, we humans have a saying, don't fix what isn't broken. But we also have another. Have a backup for your backup's backup. She gestured to the tactical display. The heritage represents our mid-tier technology, gravitic drives, energy weapons, standard shields. The legacy showcases what you might consider modern human technology. But all three ships share something in common. Obsolescence, suggested Chancellor Korvac dryly. Compatibility, Zhang corrected. Every system on these ships can interface with every other system. Apart from the remembrance can be modified to work on the legacy. A weapon from the heritage can be mounted on either of her sisters. We call it the Human Redundancy Protocol. High Admiral Zektor's tentacles stilled. You're saying you intentionally maintain outdated technology. We maintain all technology, Admiral. When the Scourge virus crippled half the galaxy's AI systems 50 years ago, our primitive, manually controlled ships were immune. When the quantum storm of 2387 rendered gravitic drives inoperable across 3 sectors, our obsolete fusion engines kept running. The laughter in the chamber had died away, replaced by thoughtful silence. But surely, pressed Vexhai, your newest ships must represent your true capabilities. Zhang's expression remained neutral. Our newest ships, Ambassador, are built on the same principle. They can operate at peak efficiency, yes, but they can also function at any technological level necessary. A captain can run their ship with full AI assistance, or shut down every computer and fly manually. We can fight with quantum torpedoes or gunpowder cannons, whatever the situation demands. This seems inefficient, murmured Grand Mediator Silvix. Perhaps, Zhang agreed, but it's effective. We've never lost a ship to system-wide technological failure. We've never been stranded by an enemy's electronic warfare. We've never found ourselves helpless because our preferred weapon doesn't work in a particular environment. She paused, looking around the chamber. You see before you ships that appear obsolete. What you're actually seeing is 2 centuries of human adaptability compressed into hull metal and determination. These vessels aren't just machines. Their philosophy made manifest. The assembled delegates shifted uncomfortably. What had begun as an amusing display of primitive technology was becoming something else entirely. Very well, said Grand Mediator Silvix slowly. You've explained your unusual approach to starship design. But surely you understand that the Alliance requires members to contribute meaningfully to collective defense. How can such outdated vessels possibly protect against modern threats? Zhang's smile became a touch sharper. With your permission, Grand Mediator, we'd like to demonstrate exactly that. She turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant Chen, please signal the fleet. Fleet. Vexhai straightened in alarm. What fleet? Our sensors show only your 3 vessels. That's correct, Ambassador. Our 3 vessels are the fleet, or rather, they're about to be. Before anyone could respond, space around the human ships began to shimmer. Hull plates shifted and reconfigured. Weapon ports opened to reveal systems that shouldn't have been able to fit within the ship's dimensions. The Remembrance's fusion engines flared to life with power outputs that defied their apparent size. What's happening? Demanded Chancellor Korvac, his scales flickering with agitation. Zhang watched the transformation with quiet pride. You're seeing why humans keep their old technology, Chancellor. Not because we can't build better, but because better isn't always what you need. Sometimes what you need is everything at once. The 3 ships were changing, revealing hidden capabilities that the Alliance's sensors hadn't detected. Modular components emerged from concealed bays, connecting the vessels in configurations that shifted from moment to moment. What had appeared to be obsolete relics were becoming something entirely different. Impossible, breathed High Admiral Zektor. Your power readings are exceeding our best estimates by orders of magnitude. Not impossible, Admiral. Just human. As the transformation continued, the gathered representatives of 37 advanced civilizations found themselves reassessing everything they thought they knew about the peculiar species from Earth. The demonstration had barely begun, and already their assumptions were crumbling like ancient parchment. Captain Zhang stood calmly at the center of the storm, her obsolete ships reshaping themselves into something that defied easy categorization. The real show was about to begin. The true power revealed. The transformation of the human vessels completed with a final surge of energy that made the Citadel's sensors shriek in protest. Where 3 obsolete ships had floated moments before, now hung something that defied conventional classification. The remembrance, heritage, and legacy had somehow merged and separated simultaneously, existing as both individual vessels and components of a larger whole. "Your sensors aren't malfunctioning," Captain Zhang assured the stunned assembly. "You're simply seeing human engineering philosophy in action. We call this the adaptive fleet configuration." Grand Mediator Silvix's light tendrils flickered erratically. But the energy requirements alone, the structural integrity calculations, this should be impossible. By conventional standards, yes, Zhang agreed. But humans have never been particularly conventional. Lieutenant Commander Walsh, please begin demonstration sequence Alpha. The merged fleet configuration pulsed with power, then suddenly separated into 30 distinct vessels. The assembled delegates gasped. Where 3 ships had been, now an entire battle group moved in perfect synchronization. "Holographic projections," suggested Counselor Thrix weakly. "Solid matter," Zhang corrected. "Each component ship is fully operational. The remembrance alone contains enough modular segments to field a dozen corvettes. We learned long ago that fixed ship designs are a liability in an unpredictable universe." High Admiral Zektor's tactical display was going haywire trying to track the constantly shifting human fleet. The power distribution networks required for this level of modularity. The computational overhead. It's magnificent. Zhang nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. But you haven't seen the truly interesting part yet. Computer, activate historical contingency mode." Instantly, half the fleet powered down all advanced systems. Engines switched from gravitic to chemical propulsion. Energy weapons retracted, replaced by projectile cannons. Shield generators went dark. "They're making themselves vulnerable," exclaimed Chancellor Korvac. "Are they?" Zhang asked quietly. "Tactical Officer Morrison, please engage Defense Pattern Omega." What followed was a masterclass in adaptive combat. The primitive ships with their chemical engines moved in ways that gravitic drives couldn't match. Sudden, violent vector changes that would have torn apart inertially dampened vessels. Their projectile weapons, dismissed as obsolete, fired smart munitions that carved through the demonstration target drones with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the advanced ships provided cover with energy weapons and shields, but it was the supposedly vulnerable vessels that scored the majority of hits. "The primitive ships are outperforming the advanced ones," Ambassador Vexhai observed, his 6 eyes wide with disbelief. "Different tools for different jobs," Zhang explained. "Our oldest technologies have had centuries of refinement. We've had time to perfect them, to find every possible advantage. A magnetic railgun might be ancient technology, but accelerate a smart projectile to significant fractions of light speed, and suddenly primitive becomes devastatingly effective." She gestured to the tactical display. "Moreover, these systems are hardened against every type of interference we've encountered. Electromagnetic pulses, quantum disruption, subspace static, even temporal distortion, none of it stops a simple chemical reaction or a piece of metal moving very fast." The demonstration continued, showing increasingly impressive feats of adaptability. Ships reconfigured mid-battle, swapping components between vessels. Damaged sections were jettisoned and replaced by modules from other ships. Energy weapons that failed were instantly replaced by projectile systems. When simulated electronic warfare crippled AI systems, human crews switched to manual control without missing a beat. "This is unprecedented," murmured Grand Mediator Silvix. "You've turned technological limitation into tactical advantage." "That's the human way," Zhang replied. We don't abandon old solutions. We perfect them alongside new ones. Every human ship carries the entire history of our spacefaring civilization. We can fight like our ancestors or like your most advanced contemporaries, depending on what the situation demands. High Admiral Zector leaned forward intently. But the crew requirements must be staggering. The training alone. Every human spacer learns every system, Zhang interrupted. From basic mechanical repairs to quantum field manipulation. It takes years, yes, but the result is a crew that can operate any human vessel at any technological level. We call it the Universal Proficiency Standard. She smiled at the Admiral's expression. Your crews are specialists, Admiral. Ours are generalists. Your ships do one thing perfectly. Ours do everything adequately, which means we always have options. The demonstration reached its climax as the human fleet faced a simulated threat designed to counter advanced technology. A quantum disruptor field that should have crippled any modern vessel. The human ships simply downgraded their systems, switching to obsolete technologies immune to the attack. They're not even slowing down. Chancellor Korvac rumbled in amazement. The quantum field isn't affecting them at all. Hard to disrupt quantum systems that aren't there, Zhang observed. Our fusion reactors and chemical thrusters might be primitive by your standards, but they're also virtually impossible to counter with modern weapons. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. As the demonstration concluded, the human vessels reassembled into their original three-ship configuration. But now the assembled delegates saw them differently. Not as obsolete relics, but as masterpieces of adaptive engineering. Ambassador Vexhai was the first to speak. Captain Zhang, I believe I owe you an apology. We misjudged your capabilities rather severely. No apology necessary, Ambassador. Most species pursue technological advancement linearly, always replacing the old with the new. Humans tend to be more accumulative. We keep everything that works, regardless of age. Grand Mediator Silvix's light tendrils pulsed thoughtfully. This philosophy extends beyond your ships. To everything, Zhang confirmed. Our colonies maintain technology from every era of human development. A settlement might have quantum computers and printing presses, fusion reactors and water wheels. We never know what might prove useful. Or necessary, added High Admiral Zector, understanding dawning in his multifaceted eyes. You're not preparing for the threats you know. You're preparing for the ones you can't imagine. Exactly, Admiral. The universe has surprised us too many times. We've learned to be ready for anything. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's approach was radically different from every other species in the Alliance, but the demonstration had proven its effectiveness beyond doubt. Chancellor Korvac shifted his massive bulk. I motion that we vote on humanity's application immediately. Seconded, said Councillor Thrix, her earlier condescension replaced by evident respect. The vote was swift and unanimous. For the first time in Alliance history, a species was admitted not for their advanced technology, but for their wisdom in preserving the old alongside the new. Welcome to the Galactic Alliance, Grand Mediator Silvix announced formally. May your unique perspective serve us all well. Captain Zhang bowed slightly. Thank you, Grand Mediator. We look forward to sharing our philosophy of technological diversity with our new allies. As the session concluded, Ambassador Vexhai approached Zhang privately. Tell me, Captain, do you truly have even more primitive vessels in your fleet? Sailing ships? Steam power? Zhang's eyes twinkled. Ambassador, we have museums full of obsolete technology, all carefully maintained and ready for reactivation. You'd be amazed how useful a simple mechanical device can be when all the computers fail, or how effective a chemical explosive is when shields are calibrated for energy weapons. Vexay's six eyes blinked in sequence, the Corellian equivalent of laughter. I begin to see why you call your ships remembrance, heritage, and legacy. You don't just preserve technology, you preserve possibilities. Now you understand, Zhang said warmly. The day humanity forgets its past is the day we lose our future. Every tool we've ever created is still a tool we might need. As news of humanity's acceptance spread through the Alliance, military tacticians and engineers began requesting access to human technical archives. The concept of maintaining multiple technological generations simultaneously sparked a revolution in defensive thinking. Within a year, human redundancy protocols were being implemented across the Alliance. Ships began carrying backup systems from earlier technological eras. Colonies started maintaining primitive infrastructure alongside modern equipment. And when the Great Darkness came, that still mysterious force that swept through the galaxy, disabling advanced technology across a dozen sectors, it was humanity's obsolete fleets that held the line. Chemical rockets, projectile weapons, and manual controls proved immune to the technological plague that crippled more advanced civilizations. In the aftermath, as Alliance worlds rebuilt, a new saying spread through the stars: never mock human obsolescence. Today's relic is tomorrow's salvation. Captain Zhang, promoted to admiral and given command of the Alliance's new adaptive response fleet, kept a simple plaque on her ready room wall. It bore an ancient human proverb that had guided her people for millennia. The old ways are not forgotten. They sleep until needed. The galaxy had learned an invaluable lesson that day. Sometimes the most advanced solution is keeping every solution. And humanity, with their fleets of obsolete wonders, stood ready to face whatever challenges the universe might offer, with tools both ancient and modern, primitive and advanced, but always unfailingly human. In the years that followed, whenever a new species scoffed at humanity's seemingly backward approach to technology, veterans of that first demonstration would share a knowing look. They had seen the truth. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their newest innovations, but their refusal to abandon the old ones. The obsolete fleet had become legendary, not for what it couldn't do, but for everything it could.